We live in a world that is completely addicted to the sound of its own voice. Everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to announce their intentions, broadcast their dreams, post their daily routines, and demand applause for work they haven't even completed yet. We have traded the grit of actual labor for the cheap, temporary high of public validation. We tell the world what we are going to do before we have even taken the first step, receiving a quick hit of praise that fools our brains into believing the journey is already finished. But real power does not make a sound. Real strength does not ask for an audience. Real transformation happens far away from the spotlight, in the quiet, unglamorous shadows where nobody is watching, nobody is clapping, and nobody cares. Welcome to the power of silent discipline. Silent discipline is the art of moving in complete, absolute silence until your results make it impossible for the world to ignore you. It is the conscious decision to kill the noise, bury the ego, and do the heavy lifting in total secrecy. It is knowing that every time you speak about your ambitions before you execute them, you leak the vital energy required to build them. When you operate with silent discipline, you do not need to convince anyone of your potential. You do not need to argue your worth, post your progress, or seek validation from people who aren't even running the same race. You let your work be your declaration. You let your consistency be your voice. Look at the way nature builds things of lasting value. An oak tree does not scream as its roots reach deep into the dark, cold earth. It expands silently, pushing through rocky soil, anchoring itself against storms that haven't even arrived yet, long before it ever sprouts a single branch into the sky. The foundation of a skyscraper is dug out in the dirt, surrounded by mud and dust, invisible to the city skyline for months or years. The noise only comes at the end, but the strength is forged in the silence. If you build your life on the noise, on the likes, the comments, the quick pats on the back, your foundation will be as weak as the opinions of the people praising you. But if you build in the silence, you build something unbreakable. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most dangerous. The most dangerous individual is the one who has mastered their mind, eliminated distractions, and operates with a quiet, relentless focus. They do not advertise their strategy. They do not warn their opposition. They do not boast about their late nights or their early mornings. They simply show up, do the work, and let the outcome speak for itself. Ask yourself honestly, how much energy have you wasted trying to prove to other people that you are working hard? How many times have you announced a new diet, a new business, a new goal, or a new habit, only to abandon it 2 weeks later? You spent all your fire talking about the mountain instead of climbing it. When you announce your plans, you get a rush of premature pride. You feel like a champion before the fight has even begun. But when you keep your mouth shut, that energy has nowhere to go except into your action. It builds up inside you like steam in a pressure cooker. It forces you to act because execution becomes your only release valve. Silence creates focus. Silence removes the distraction of other people's opinions. When you work in silence, you aren't doing it for their approval, which means their criticism can't stop you either. You become completely detached from the external world and deeply attached to the internal standard. You stop asking, "What will they think of this?" and start asking, "Did I give everything I had today?" Think about what happens in the early hours of the morning. At 4 a.m., the world is asleep. The notifications are silent. The emails aren't rolling in. The social media feeds are dead. There is no audience. In that quiet dark, there is no one to impress. If you lace up your shoes and step out into the cold at that hour, you are doing it purely for the forge. You are doing it because you made a promise to yourself, and your word to yourself is sacred. That is where character is built. Character is not forged on the stage under the bright lights. Character is forged in the dark when you are exhausted, when nobody is watching, and you choose to do the right thing anyway. Discipline is not an emotion, it is a contract. An emotion depends on how you feel. If you only work when you feel inspired, happy, rested, or motivated, your output will be wildly unpredictable. You will be a slave to your moods. But silent discipline replaces mood with mission. It says, it does not matter if I am tired. It does not matter if I am cold. It does not matter if I am bored. The standard is the standard, and the work will be done. To build silent discipline, you must learn to fall in love with the unglamorous part of the process. Society loves to celebrate the finish line. We love the trophy, the championship ring, the successful IPO, the physical transformation, the polished final product. But the finish line is just a tiny fraction of the story. The real story is the thousands of hours of repetitive, mundane, boring labor that preceded it. It is the thousands of missed shots in an empty gym. It is the endless pages of rough drafts deleted in solitude. It is the failures suffered alone in a room, with tears in your eyes, where you had to gather your own courage and rebuild yourself without anyone holding your hand. When you embrace silent discipline, you stop running from the boredom. You realize that boredom is the filter. The mundane is the gatekeeper to greatness. Most people quit because they get bored of doing the simple things correctly day after day. They want novelty, excitement, and constant public applause. They quit when the initial high wears off. But the person of silent discipline finds peace in the repetition. They master the mundane. They understand that mastery is nothing more than basic fundamentals executed with extraordinary consistency over a prolonged period of time. Stop telling people what you are going to do. Show them. Better yet, don't even show them. Just let the results alter your reality so drastically that they have no choice but to notice. If you want to lose weight, stop talking about your new workout routine. Don't post the gym mirror selfie. Don't explain your macro counting to your coworkers. Just put your head down, eat clean, lift heavy, run hard, and let them wonder 6 months from now how you transformed into a completely different person. If you want to build a business, don't update your title on social media to founder or CEO before you've earned your first dollar. Don't lecture people on entrepreneurship when you haven't survived a single storm. Work in the dark. Study the market, build the product, refine the service, take the hits, make the sales, and let your market share tell the story. If you are healing from a broken heart or a devastating defeat, do not broadcast your pain for sympathy. Do not post bitter quotes or search for pity from crowds that don't care about your soul. Suffer in silence, heal in quiet, reconstruct your spirit, and re-emerge stronger, calmer, and entirely whole. Pity is cheap, respect is earned. And respect is never earned by complaining about your pain, it is earned by quietly transcending it. There is a profound freedom that comes when you stop needing the world to witness your effort. When you clear away the need for external validation, you gain total ownership over your life. Nobody can take credit for your success, because nobody helped you hype it up. Nobody can tear down your progress, because nobody knew you were building it in the first place. You become an iceberg. What people see above the surface is only a fraction of the weight, power, and depth that lies beneath. Look at the warriors, the masters, the true craftspeople throughout human history. They were not loud. They were obsessed. They possessed an inner fire that burned so hot it didn't need external oxygen to keep it alive. Their motivation came from an internal standard, an unshakable duty to their own potential. They understood that every time you complain, every time you brag, every time you seek an easy out, you leak power. But when you keep your mouth shut and absorb the pain, the fatigue, the doubt, and the pressure, you convert that pressure into raw fuel. Pressure is a privilege, but only if you hold it inside and force it to turn you into a diamond. If you vent the pressure every time it gets uncomfortable by complaining or seeking comfort, you will remain soft carbon forever. The battle is always between you and you. It is not between you and your critics. It is not between you and your competitors. It is between the vision you have for your life and the lazy, loud, excuse-making voice inside your own head. The loud voice wants comfort. The loud voice wants to quit when it hurts. The loud voice wants to complain when things aren't fair. Silent discipline is the quiet, immovable resolve that steps over that voice every single morning. It tells the voice, "I hear you, but we are moving anyway." When you step into this mindset, your entire presence changes. You develop a calm, relaxed confidence. You don't need to dominate conversations. You don't need to prove you are the smartest person in the room. You don't need to react to every insult or defend yourself against every misinterpretation. Why? Because you know what you are building. You know the work you've put in. You know the storm you've walked through in silence. A person who is secure in their preparation has no need to flex their posture. Their posture is built on iron realities, not fragile performance. So from this day forward, make a pact with yourself. Lower the volume of your words and crank up the volume of your actions. When you get up early, keep it to yourself. When you make a sacrifice, keep it to yourself. When you suffer a setback, absorb the blow, learn the lesson, and fix it in silence. Stop seeking permission from people who don't have the courage to walk the path you're on. Stop seeking applause from audiences that are sitting in comfortable seats while you are bleeding on the arena floor. The dark is your friend. The silence is your sanctuary. The grind is your secret. Let them sleep while you work. Let them talk while you execute. Let them doubt while you build. You don't need to make a sound. You don't need to make a scene. Stay patient. Stay humble. Stay relentless. Work in absolute, uncompromising silence. And let your success be the only noise you ever make.